What's up? What's up? Happy Saturday, or whatever day you happen to watch this on. Andy Kruger here, professional dog trainer extraordinaire. Get you a t-shirt. I'll let people get on. I'll let the questions start coming in. Topic for the beginning of this week's live: Belgian Malinois are the most over-exercised breed in existence currently. Yeah, you heard it right. Everyone's going to be going, Andy, what are you talking about? Malinois need tons of exercise. What are you doing over there? Malinois are the most over-exercised breed. And I'm going to explain what I mean. If I were to get a nice quality Labrador Retriever and I were to get a nice quality Belgian Malinois, it's early, Malinois. I get them both at the same time. I raise them the same way. I train them equal amount of time every single day. Am I really going to physically exercise the Malinois more than the Lab? I'm not. Does a Malinois need more exercise than a Border Collie? Than a Lab? Than a Doberman? Than a German Shepherd? Than a Boxer? Why? Why would a Malinois need more physical exercise? They don't. I think you guys would be surprised how much I actually exercise my Belgian Malinois. Sure, it's almost every day. It's definitely 5-6 days a week on average, but I think you'd be really surprised. I'm not running them into the ground and pushing them to crazy physical exhaustion on like a super regular basis. I'm just not. Of course, physical exercise, it's important for every dog. Like, that goes without saying for me. Malinois are over-exercised. Every dog needs exercise. Every person needs exercise. So, do Malinois need more exercise? No, they don't. They need to be worked differently. That's what everyone's missing here. The Malinois needs to be handled, trained, and worked specific to their genetics. So my Lab and my Malinois, yeah, I'm going to work them differently. They have different genetics, so I'm going to work them differently. But exercise, I definitely don't think a Malinois needs more exercise than a Lab. Now, the reason people think that is because there's this concept, there's this idea out there that's promoted to new Malinois owners that goes, oh, they need tons of exercise. They need tons of exercise. They need tons of exercise. That's putting a Band-Aid on it. You can't rely on physically exhausting a dog to have them be content. You can't rely on that. You owe the dog daily exercise, but if you don't have that, your dog's going to be bouncing off the walls going crazy? I don't think so. Okay, I don't think so. Who agrees with me? Let me know in the comments. Malinois need to be worked differently than your average dog, but more exercise? I think not. The Belgian Malinois, everything with them is more extreme than another breed of dog like a Lab. I'll explain. So say you have a Labrador Retriever who has separation anxiety. You're going to see that anxiety come out in the Lab. If the Malinois has separation anxiety, it'll be way more apparent. It'll be a bigger problem because a Malinois is more extreme. Some dogs jump this high, Malinois jump this high. Some dogs bite like this, Malinois bite like that. So they can be more extreme. So the average person is going to inadvertently give their pet dog separation anxiety, but with a Malinois, it's way more severe and apparent. So people will take the edge off. They will try to alleviate that anxiety by running the dog into the ground. And that's not the way you do it. Guys, owning and training a Belgian Malinois, it's definitely not for everyone. And there's a chance most people, they just won't be able to do it. And you think, oh, I'm going to get a Malinois. No, I'm going to train it. I'm going to exercise it every day. No, I'm really going to do this. I'm going to work it. You can be as gung-ho as you want. There's a chance that you just won't be able to do it. Let me make a comparison. Say that you need to rebuild the engine of your car. Okay, if you're a gearhead, you're like, oh, cool. How many people, out of 1,000 people, just average, I have a booger, just average people, how many are going to be able to actually learn how to rebuild an engine start to finish? They really put their time in. They really give it a good go. Even a couple months, they study it, they watch videos, they train with a mechanic. How many people are actually going to be able to do it? The reality is there's a percentage of people that just literally won't be able to. Whether it's because they give up or they just don't really, it's just not there. Oh yeah, take any trade, any craft, woodworking, whatever you want to pick. But there's a percentage of people that just can't do it. And it's not a knock on them. It's just not for them. So owning, training, and handling a Belgian Malinois is a very unique challenge. And again, even if you try really, really hard, dog training is really, really hard. You just might not be able to do it successfully. If you're having tons of problems with your Malinois, it's probably not the dog for you. It's really probably not the dog for you. If you plan to get a Belgian Malinois and go, oh, I'm going to exercise the crap out of this dog every day because that's what they need, you probably shouldn't be owning a Belgian Malinois because they need to be trained, handled, and worked. Playing fetch, taking them for a jog, that has nothing to do with handling, training, and working the dog. It's just running them. It's 1/100th of what the dog needs. Every Malinois I see is probably over-exercised. Unless a real pro trainer has the dog, they're over-exercised. And people will go, oh no, he's good, he loves it, he needs it, he'll go all day, I have to stop him, he'll keep going. Just because the dog can doesn't mean the dog should. You need to learn what working a dog is versus what just exercising a dog is. To wrap up this point, years and years ago, I sold a fully trained Belgian Malinois to a client that I had at the time. And they had a couple of pet dogs here and there in the past, but never a real dog, a working dog. So the client at the time says to me like, oh no, I want a working dog. Oh, he's gung-ho. He's ordering all the stuff online. He's got all the cool equipment. I'm gung-ho to work. Oh, I'm going to take time every day to do this, that, and the other. 4 months later, I get the dog back. We can't handle the dog. The dog's too much. We want a working dog, but once we get one, we're like, I don't know if I want this dog anymore. What happened was the client at the time confused physical exercise with handling and working. And no matter how much you throw the ball for the dog in the park, you're fulfilling 1/100th of what the Belgian Malinois needs. So they thought, well, I'll just run and exercise him crazy every day and we'll be great. Wasn't the case. I got the dog back. So forget about big physical exercise. Think about how you can work here. You need a 10 by 10 space. You need a 5 by 5 space to get a Malinois exhausted here. So it's about working the dog. It's not about running the dog ragged. Pro tip, let's get into some questions. What do y'all got for me? We got a whole bunch. What's up? Getting up. Hello, fellow dog training enthusiasts. There's my guy, Matthew. What's up, Matthew? Hey, everyone. What's up? What's up? I think more mental stimulation is more important than physical exercise. Boom, bing, booyah, David. You nailed that one. Holy crap, finally made it live. There's my boy, Aaron. Loyal patron coming to train with me soon. Yes, it's true. A lot of work and commitment. The most work and commitment. It's commitment and work here, though. Appreciate everything you're doing. You're live. Push me to set up. Hold on, let me make sure I read this right. This is from Marsha. Appreciate everything you're doing. Your live pushed me to set up with Oscar Mora's company. Your videos have my pup ahead of the game. Gonna up the Patreon. Nice. I love hearing that. That's why I do it. Finally made it to a live Patreon. Let's go, baby. Getting better daily. Thanks. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Hey, Andy, great to see you, man. Love the topic. Hope it encourages me to get a working dog. I hope it does too. You got to be ready to work, though. Discipline, discipline, discipline. Especially if you have a full-time job. Having a full-time job in a Malinois, that's like getting another full-time job. That's for sure. This really hits home. Hindsight. Well, it's never too late. My Mal girl is heating on me. Whoa. Oh, this is going to be a good one. You know it, Jordan. How do you handle training around puppy brain changes? 4 months when they regress, 9 months fear period, etc. I know consistency, but do you stick with basics, reduce time? Okay, Marcia, let me get you on this question. How do you handle training around puppy brain changes? I think what Marcia's trying to say is that in general terms, there's a narrative out there that, okay, 4 months old, let's just call it teething period, 5 months old. I don't really know what the puppy brain means, but 9 months fear period. Look, it's totally possible that a lot of puppies go through a fear period. It's totally possible. The way I handle that is I don't drown them in the situation that makes them afraid. I don't try to coddle them. I don't try to kiss their butt. I just let them be nervous about whatever they're nervous about. I move on. I don't give it any special treatment. I just act like, okay, that's fine. You're afraid. You can be afraid. That's no problem. I don't really agree with the puppy brain thing. I think that if you're experiencing some backslide or some trouble when the dog's 4 months old, the dog's lifestyle is probably like way off. Because I've had just personally a lot of puppies that I've raised and trained, and I never ran into any problems like that. Fear periods for sure, that's real. But the puppy brain, I think maybe that's more like an experienced trainer brain, you know, not so much the puppy. Fear periods are real, but like no matter what, Marcia, I pretty much never blame the dog. The dog's stubborn, the dog's hard-headed. You're blaming the dog. We got to be better than that. Let's see what we got here. How would you go about maybe training a dog that is resource guarding its owner? Super common problem. How do you train a dog, or how do you start to train a dog that resource guards their owner? Guys, there's a big difference between possession and protection. I truly believe a dog has to have the correct genetics and the correct formal training to protect someone. And I know everyone has a story about how one time the dog wasn't trained and the dog just naturally by instinct protected it. The only problem with that is it's just a little anecdotal. There's no actual, it's anecdotal, it's an opinion, but there's a big difference between protection and possession. Most dogs are possessive over their owners. I know that's a huge general statement, but and not you guys that are on this live because you're going above and beyond, but just the average person, depending on the dog, if they say the dog's protective, the dog's possessive. You know what the dog being possessive of you means? It means that the dog treats you like you're a bone, like you're his toy. And dog goes, you're mine. I own you. And the problem with that is, it's not true because we own the dog. If your dog bites someone, guess who's in trouble? You. If you assault someone on the street, guess who's in trouble? Your dog. I'm just kidding. You are. You're the boss. You own the dog. The dog doesn't own you. The dog's living in fantasy land if he thinks he owns you. So how do I go about training a dog that resource guards their owner? Just off the top of my head, I have to get that owner far away. I have to go, give me the leash. Thank you. Bye-bye, owner. I'll see you in 3 weeks. I'll see you in 2 weeks, whatever it is. Probably 2 for a visit. But I need to get one-on-one lessons with that dog. Sure, anything's possible, but if we really want results, you got to get that owner out of there. You have to take that resource away from the dog, and then step by step, day by day, brick by brick, you have to build a healthy relationship with the dog. Because if you don't have that rapport with the dog, you're not going to be able to convince it to behave with the owner otherwise. Jordan, the problem with that is you're going to take the dog, you're going to make the dog way better, you're going to give the dog back to the owner, it's going to be better right now. But if the owner doesn't truly change their mentality and the presence that they carry themselves with around the dog will always be possessive of them. So get the dog away from the owner, establish a rapport and train the dog, give the dog real skills, then bring the owner back in and start to teach the dog, hey, guess what? You definitely don't own them. But that's a tricky one for sure. Those kind of things will make you a good trainer. What doesn't help is a Malinois will never say no. You need to protect them from themselves. Boom! Christoph nailed it with that one. One of my favorite trainers of all time, Bart Bellin, I went to a seminar like 5 or 10 years ago, and the way he described the Malinois was really funny to me, and I kind of adopted this as well. He said the Malinois is a junkie. The Malinois is a degenerate. They're a gambler. They just keep gambling. A Malinois could chase a squirrel 1 million times and never catch one. 1,000,001 time, they're just as enthusiastic chasing it because there's just that chance they could hit the jackpot. They're degenerates, they're gamblers, they're junkies for playing, running, biting. They'll keep going back and back and back and back. So when I see people with the chuckets just launching it for a Malinois over and over and over again, kind of makes me want to throw up. You definitely have to protect the dog from themselves. And one of the best quotes I've ever heard was, just because a dog can doesn't mean a dog should. Hey, my kid can put away a dozen donuts in one sitting. It doesn't mean they should. Am I right? Patreon crew, what up? What's up, Ashley? Andy, have you product tested that air spray can? Yeah, one of my clients actually gave me, it's like a little, looks like a thing of like mace, but it's just air, and it's supposed to like deter dogs away. I haven't actually used it on a dog, but I have sprayed. It's just like psh, and gives you this like hit of air. So if anyone ever has dogs loose running around your neighborhood, coming at you and your dog, I think you have one of these little air spray cans and you spray that fool. Love the help with Zedekiah. Thanks, Julie. Cool name too. Zedekiah. It's a cool name. Huge improvements. Get on the Patreon, folks. Thanks, Julie. I appreciate that. Hello from the Philippines. What's up? I want to buy a sleeve and suit for protection work. What company do you recommend? I like the company Demonet. D-E-M-A-N-E-T. Phonetically, it would be Demonet, but it's Demonet. So they're based in Spain. So, but they ship worldwide. Demonet is the only bite suit I've ever had. I think I've had like 10 suits over my career, and they've all been Demonet. Everything from training weight to semi-comp to competition, of course. So I doubt I'll ever have another suit that isn't a Demonet unless someone sends me one for free. And if I wear it online or social media, the owner from Demonet is probably going to reach through the computer and slap me. So, but they do sleeves, toys, tugs, everything. Demonet, it's probably like DemonetInternational.com or something. Just Google it. What's the best way to work a Malinois with their training? The best way to work a Malinois is with their training. Heel, sit, down, stay, bite, let go. If you guys watch some of my videos of Jasper or of Freddie, you can really break it down to basics. Heel, sit, down, stay. Let me give you a quick example. I just did a board and train with the little fluffy dog, and the owners are like, Andy, we want to see your dog. We want to see your dog. I'm like, are you sure you're ready for that? Okay. So I go get Jasper, and we put on a little show for him. They were extremely impressed with heel, sit, down, stay. Really, I brought him out in heel. He's jacked, great attention, focus, doesn't pay them or their dog any attention. You know, he's just, we're doing our thing, we're playing tug, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh my God, Andy, that was amazing. And I was like, heel, sit, down, stand, bite the toy, let go of the toy. That's all I did with him. But the way I did it, and the way I used the commands, and the way the dog performed the commands, the way I mixed everything up, that's where the work was. So basics, basics, basics. You use the dog's training to work the dog. Great question. What do we got here? I hope you guys are training today. I know I am. I hate when I see people talk about how their Malinois will and needs to go 8 hours a day. Probably exercise. Yeah, that makes me nauseous. Hi, if a client asks you to help him in the training of his leash reactive dog, what steps are you taking to build the dog? If a client asks you to help him in training his leash reactive dog, what steps are you taking to build the dog? Well, that's a great question. Basically, how do I fix leash reactivity, or how would I advise a client to start to build the dog, but really to fix that, because the problem was created. So ultimately, it has to be fixed. We have to build, not fix, as I like to say, but that no doubt is a problem. How do we build the dog? Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the dog out of the situation where there's going to be any potential for that. We're going to start in a room, close the door, nothing but me and the dog. And I am, again, going to establish a rapport, a training relationship with the dog over 1,000 repetitions over weeks. I'm going to take the dog out of their comfort zone, okay? No sleeping in the crate next to the bed, no off-leash free roaming my house. If you're leash reactive, you're out of your mind if you think you're going to just off-leash free roam around my house and like get on my couch. You're out of your mind if you're the dog. So the way we need to establish some absolute basics like you'd see in my 5-minute challenge. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to have a dog that I own or a friend or a family member has that's neutral and doesn't care. And then I'm going to go into that same environment and I'm going to have them stand in the corner of the room holding their dog on a leash. And I'm going to be in the other corner of the room and I'm going to have my dog on leash. And the dog, if you've done the work correctly outside of that situation, the dog will only be stressed about that dog for so long. There's only so long that a dog can live in stress and anxiety until that starts to subside. And if you're thinking, oh no, this dog will be stressed all day, every day, because you haven't done the proper steps outside of that training session. So if the dog never relaxes, the dog isn't ready to be there, but you need to spend an hour in that room and then rinse and repeat that twice a day, every day for a month. What you don't want to do is go outside with the dog. Oh, look, there's a dog. React, 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 and dog's gone. You can't have that. You have to have that dog there for a meaningful period of time consistently. You guys would be shocked. Some board and trains that I have, they're reactive for years and years and years. They come here a few weeks later, there's zero reactivity because I've taken the dog out of their comfort zone. I've changed their lifestyle. I've established a training rapport with them, trust and obedience. And I've put them in specific situations with specific dogs, with a specific game plan. And it all comes down to engagement and motivation. Anyone can throw a prong or an e-collar on a dog and hammer them and make them stop something. Anyone can do that, right? Anyone. But can we actually build and motivate the dog to ignore that dog and focus on you? So that's a little bit how I would start that one, my friend. Let's see what we got here. LOL. Oh yeah, I'm sure it was funny, whatever it was. A lot of questions. We might be here. Oh. Besides the bite work, how would you train a personal protection dog versus a sport dog? Besides the bite work, how would I train a personal... Okay, so the differences between training a personal protection dog and a sport dog. To be honest, John, I don't know how much of a difference there'd be for me personally. Of course, the bite work, training a dog to bite for real versus just for competition is totally different. You know, people are like, oh yeah, but will Freddie bite without the suit? No, no, he's not trained to do that at all. So yeah, the bite work's totally different. But outside of that, John, I don't think I would do a lot different. I'm thinking about making homemade gravy so he will eat his dry food. Is that a good idea? No, that's not a good idea at all. If the dog's not eating their dry food, the dog is telling you that they're not hungry. So it's very likely that your dog's just overfed. I would recommend fasting and then cutting the quantity you feed daily significantly. Andy, what do you think of mixed Malinois Dutch Shepherd? Know someone that has one and says it's an awesome mixed breed. Yeah, not for me. Not for me. I don't think it's a good thing. Hello, Andy. I'm a huge fan of yours. Thanks for the great videos. Thank you very much. My question is, my dog is the perfect pet, gentle, sweet, active, listens well, easily trained, and very ball driven. Sounds perfect. What do you need me for? How can I give him more mental stimulation? He loves his herding ball. What you need to do, my 5-minute challenges, they're all free on YouTube. Scroll through my videos. Anything that says 5-minute challenge on the thumbnail, that is exactly how you give your dog more mental stimulation. Any tips on getting my dog to target the ball rather than the rope? I'm going to make a video of this soon, Michael. I'm going to make a video really, really soon. It's hard to describe without showing you. You're going to hate that. You just can't give the dog the option to bite the rope. I'll show you. I'm going to make a video of that soon, Michael. Hey Andy, where can I buy a dog e-collar? Which brand do you recommend? I use the Mini Educator from e-collar technologies, ecollar.com. Andy, what's your opinion on working breeds living in an apartment? It's not my favorite. You better be like hardcore dog trainer if you're going to be living with a working breed in an apartment. That's a full-time job right there. 3 fulls. What do you do with a male that over-exercises himself in his kennel before you go get him for training in the morning? I have one that I had to crate in order to train him. Everything that happens with the dog outside of the crate will determine the dog's behavior inside the crate. I'll say that one more time. Everything that happens outside of the crate determines the dog's behavior inside the crate. So he spins himself to death in the crate before training. Big deal. Just take him out, go about your training session, put him away. I've been doing a lot of engagement training with the heel and working with food with Ziggy. Play and biting has dropped off the map. How would you recommend the motivation back for the toy? I mean, Jordan, you just have like genetics that are working against you there. I mean, it's like the play has dropped off the map. Look, rule of thumb, Jordan, anytime if a dog isn't very enthusiastic about playing with you, the more rules you start to put, the worse it becomes. So if we're going bite, regrip, out, sit, bite, and there's like a lot of rules and control involved, that's really, look, the dog either wants to play or the dog doesn't want to play. So I wouldn't worry about rules or outing or full grips or anything fancy. I would just let the dog possess the toy and just go from there. How much time per week would one need to prepare for dog sports like IGP? A local club is suggesting 2 to 6 hours at the club at the weekends and 20 minutes obedience tracking per day at home. That sounds about right to me. That sounds about right to me. Random comment, Andy, doing 1,000 reps on healing as you said. I do focused heal, already seeing major results on 250. Nice. Yeah, in my one of my previous YouTube videos, I said, this is how you lure the dog with food for heal. You need 1,000 repetitions of this. And which I believe is true. Of course, I had someone really cool in the comments. They go, you don't need 1,000, and I never use leash and collars to train. There's always going to be Debbie Downer. Oh, I did it in 1 minute. You need 1,000. You're on your way, my man. You mentioned Bart Bellin. What's your opinion on Nepopo? Nepopo's cool. Can definitely do sweet stuff with it. Not good for competition. How many times you see Bart Bellin's dogs doing cool stuff? All the time. How many times you see him scoring really high in a ring sport recently? You know what I mean? So it's cool, but not really designed for a sport dog. What's your recommendation on choosing a breeder? Like me personally, or like the average person? I know I sound like a jerk saying that, like, oh, I'm above you guys. That's not what I mean at all. I just mean that when I go to get a dog, a Belgian Malinois, my goal is the highest level of ring sport competition. So that already reduces the breeders by 1,000,000%. Not that other breeders don't have like a pretty cool dog, but for the top in the world, that's a very thin margin there. So the breeder, I look at what they've produced and what those dogs have gone on to do. So if the breeder says, oh, these dogs are so friendly. No, I want to see what the dog actually does. And I don't want anecdotes either. I want actual proof and titles and footage and documentation of what the dog's done. No old wives' tales, okay? No urban legend. Oh yeah, this dog. Someone came in my house one night and this dog protected me. I don't need the anecdotes. I want scores. Yeah, I wasn't sure how to explain puppy brain. I just had sessions where he's spot on and then the next day he's more worried about environmental noises. It's okay. It's a puppy. You know, puppies get scared. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Found a stray pit mix about 4 to 5 months old, very fearful and skittish, but no barking or aggression. Yeah, not yet. Just aversion. What do you suggest to build confidence? Thanks for all that you do. Rachel, you treat that dog no different than you would treat any other dog. You put them on a crate schedule. You put them on a training regimen. No off-leash free roaming around your house. Definitely not off-leash in the house. Anytime the puppy's out of his crate, you have a game plan with a contingency plan to work the dog for a set period of time, and you put the dog away. You treat that dog no different. That's what he would want. What's up, Andy? I just got to ask how you're able to train your board and trains and train your personal dogs every day. Do you get burnout every now and then? I definitely don't train my board and trains and my dogs every day. The biggest problem dog trainers have is their dogs always take a back seat to their board and train. So yeah, like recently I had like 3 board and trains, which for some people isn't a lot, but for what I'm doing with them every day, it's a lot of work. Yeah, I went like 2 weeks and Freddie got 0 training. I just let him run around and do his thing out on the property, but yeah. Do I get burnt out? I mean, I think everyone gets burnt out on whatever they do at some point, but you know, it's not really a problem for me. But yeah, my dogs definitely get put on the back burner. Michael, that's why I started the 5-minute challenges, because a lot of times I literally have 5, maybe 10. 5 sounds cooler, it's shorter, but I have 5 or 10 minutes, that's it, to work with my dog. So that's why I like to do those. But like Michael, like if I'm like flying my decoy in for a weekend of training, like the months before that, I'm working my dog a lot. I'm training him a lot. Once that weekend's over and I have a couple months where I'm, you know, not going to be bringing him in and really doing a lot of bite work, then I can take it a little easier on those months. So it just, you know, it kind of depends. But man, I sure wish I could train my dog more, that's for sure. Recommendations for a dog that isn't food motivated but is jacked for the Frisbee. I've tried using a tug. Look, here's my thing. I'm going to stop you right there. Here's my thing. A dog that isn't food motivated does not work for me. That doesn't work. Is the dog a senior? Is the dog handicapped? Does the dog have some sort of an ailment? That's fine. A dog that's not food motivated, though, outside of that, that doesn't work for me. I don't take that. I'm not going to go, well, he's not food motivated, so let me see what oh, no, you're going to get food motivated. No, you're going to get food motivated. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. The no food motivated doesn't work for me. You're going on a big league diet. Major diet. Stupid diet. Your ass going on a diet. You're getting food motivated. Period. And also, sorry not to be rude, I don't like Frisbees. I don't like them. They're dangerous. Hi, new here. 51-year-old first-time father to Pepper. 15-month Czech Shepherd. Holy cow, love your stuff. Patreon, when gas gets back to $3. Boy, do I need help. I feel you, Mike. I feel you. Thank you very much, though. Stay tuned. You can get a lot out of just the YouTube, Mike. Coming in hot. You got that right, Christoph. Andy, the real basic training aspect is repetition. True. When the dog knows what to do and the expectation is clear, then you build the power. Most people don't have the dedication to build the repetition. That's a great point. So a lot of times people will repeat something 25 times, 50 times, 100 times, and the dog does it. And the dog does it again and again and again and again. And then they go, got it. What's next? I will not stop training heel until I never need my dog to heel again. An elite professional level basketball player will never stop practicing free throws. When they retire, they'll probably stop. But no matter how good of a basketball player you are never so good to where you just don't need to practice free throws again. Quarterback, they will never stop practicing basic plays because that's where it's at. Just because you've done something and the dog's done it, it doesn't mean you're good. It's like, hey, let's work on heel today. No, he's got heel. I don't want to work on heel. I want to do this, that, the other, boom, bing, bong, all this fancy stuff. Bring the dog out. Oh my God, that heel needs so much work. You have to find the beauty in the small things, in the process. If you're trying to sprint to the finish line, training and working a dog and handling a dog probably isn't for you. I don't want to get to the finish line. I want to stay right. I want to build everything piece by piece, brick by brick, and I enjoy that, and my dog enjoys that. Repetition is definitely king. 90 degrees here in Ontario. Yeah, John, it's been pretty hot here as well. Love your videos, always learning from you. Thank you, Emily. The foundation that you put on Lincoln has brought everything together. One of my patrons turned client just board and trained her German Shepherd. Makes me start to understand the art of dog training, doing lots of heel with breaks, of course, but is there risk to overdo? No, Ashley, there's no risk to overdoing your practice on heel as long as there isn't like pressure heavy sessions. You know what I mean? So if a dog's bam, 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 yeah, you could overdo that really quick. But the way that you're doing things, no. But every once in a while, Ashley, if it's possible, it's cool to give the dog like one day totally off. And then they come back that next day like really back at it. So something just to pepper in every now and again. I'm very new to my Malinois. He's 4 months old. What's a good food for him? Homemade versus store food. I'd buy food from the store. Hi, Andy. When I act like I'm going to hit my dog in protection work, he gets scared. Any solution? Not really, man. Not really. I mean, you could hand feed and go like that a bunch to try to desensitize them to that, but that might be a pickle there. Personal protection dog must be more stable because you must be able to live with a protection dog. Sport dog can live in the crate. Protection dog can't protect if it's in the crate. No, I disagree. Personal protection dog must be more stable. No, you can have a super nerved out personal protection dog. What if you live by yourself on 100 acres? You can have the nerviest, sketchiest dog ever, and that'll still bite someone, but as long as he's cool with you, I mean, it doesn't really need to be solid. Now, if you want to take the dog everywhere, yeah, but if you never leave the property and that's one scenario where you wouldn't need it. A sport dog can live in the crate and be, I mean, any dog can live in the crate. I'm trying to train my Mal, 7 months old, but in new places, he's so suspicious. It's better to make him focus on me with prey or food drive. Yes and no. Yes and no. So 7 months old, it's a delicate time. You don't want to drown the dog in situations that make them uncomfortable. But yeah, look, there's a time to your dog's a little sketchy about something. There's a time to redirect the dog and, hey, look at the food. Hey, you want to play? And there's also a time to just hold the leash and just let the dog be in that moment and then just move on. So yes and no there. If he's suspicious, I mean, let him be suspicious. I mean, the dog's allowed to be suspicious. Are you ever suspicious? I mean, just a little touch and go there. Hey, Andy, do you recommend Malinois for beginner dog owners? Never. Never, my friend. Never recommend a Malinois for a beginner dog owner. I was in working dogs and training and a bite suit and blah, blah, blah for years before I got my first dog. For years I was doing that, and I still wasn't that prepared. I'm feeding my Mal Purina Pro Plan, but the vet says that it's not healthy unless it's into sports. Do you recommend a certain food? No, I don't really recommend a certain food. Nothing Purina does is good, though. Sorry, my opinion. I rescued a dog 4 months ago. I think she's a Malinois with a Cypress Hunter. She's 1 year now. Lovely dog, struggling with separation anxiety. She howls when I'm out. 2 hours today. Yep, sounds like pretty severe separation anxiety there. Definitely not healthy. Choose a breeder that competes with their own dogs, period. If you're looking to actually compete with a dog, yeah, 100%. What about a Belgian mix with a German Shepherd? Look, I've seen them that are decent, but for me still, it's like, why? Let a German Shepherd be a German Shepherd. Let a Malinois be a Malinois. But I have seen decent ones exist. Shout out, sir, my idol, watching from the Philippines. Thanks, my man. I'm in Oregon. I know you are certified with NARA. Derek Evans, Bill Woodley, NW Working Canines are NARA certified decoys here in Oregon. Is there any other association besides NARA that certifies decoys? NARA is the only ring sport, French ring sport organization in the United States. Mondio Ring, the SMRA, whatever it's called, Mondio Ring certifies Mondio decoys. Thank you. Can you explain what obedience is? I feel like a lot of people don't understand what obedience means. Obedience is not sit down, heel, stay. Well, technically you could say it is. If someone's like, hey, what obedience commands does your dog know? I'd say heel, sit, down, stay. But I know what you mean. Can you explain what obedience is? To me, obedience is a mindset. With the dog, but with the animal in general. Obedience it's the state of mind that the dog is in. It's the way that the dog looks at you. It's the way the dog feels about you, how they work for you, how they play with you. It's all, obedience, it's kind of a fancy word for like you and your dog are like perfectly on the same page. So yes, he'll sit down, stay is gonna be involved, whatever. But yeah, Jordan, you're right. It's just how the dog views you, the environment they're in, and where the dog sees themselves in the grand scheme of things. Everyone knows the phrase low man on the totem pole. If there's a totem pole in your household and you have you, your partner, your kids, your dogs, I don't care how much of a fur baby they are. I don't care how much they're a member of your family. No one loves their dog more than I love my Boykin Foxy. He's part of our family for sure. No matter how hardcore you are into the dog's not more important than the people. The people are always ahead of the dog. Okay, if you can save your dog or your kid, it's not even a question. So the dog is the lowest on the totem pole unless you have like a gerbil or something. So does the dog see themselves that way? Or does the dog think, oh, my dog runs the house? I mean, I get the joke, but they don't. They pay the bills. They bought the house. They don't run anything. That's fantasy land. Obedience is the dog's mindset about you, the environment, and where they fit into it. Guys, this dog training stuff, it's a lot more complex than fixing problems that you've created or heel, sit down, stay. I think that's what Jordan's trying to get at. Heel, sit down, stay. You can have a dog that knows heel, sit down, stay all day and isn't what I would consider obedient, if that makes sense. What's the first thing you do when bringing an 8-week-old pup home to set the tone? Great question. I got a video on YouTube where I brought my puppy home from the airport. First thing I do is I pick up my puppy, I put him in a crate in my car, I drive him home, I get him out of the car, I set him down, and I just let him go around and explore stuff. Just go around. I'll take the dog, boom, I'll plop the dog right in my house. I'll let the dog go explore around the house. If the dog's like absolutely mortified of like an inanimate object, I'm going to be like, that's not good. So I'm just going to kind of assess what the puppy's doing, how they're doing it, let them just feel comfortable, horse around. And I'm keeping things really light like that for a week, 2 weeks. It's all about the crate training and potty training for me at that point. And those two things are like almost one in the same. You can't really have one without the other. No, Andy, I potty trained my dog. I never crate trained him. Uh-oh. No, you didn't. Not by my definition. So I just want the puppy to be clean in the crate. I want the puppy going outside and immediately thinking, hey, this is my chance to relieve myself. And then going in the crate and just knowing it's chill time. So other than that, the first week or two, I'm just letting the pup just kind of explore, run around, get confident, get a lay of the land, just do his thing. And you can definitely, just to complement that a little bit, I could do a little hand feeding, a little luring, but nothing too crazy. In your last live, you mentioned transitioning from kibble to raw. How's that going? Pros and cons of each. Yeah, good question, Matthew. I'm going to make a YouTube video to show you guys, but I just put a couple of my dogs on raw, and the transition, it was easy. I mean, they might have had loose stool a little bit, but I don't really notice that. It's been good. The pros are it's way healthier. The cons are it's just harder to maintain over a period of time. Like, so, I have to buy a certain amount at a time. I have to keep that in a freezer. I have to think ahead and be like, okay, I need to go pull out, 5 pounds for the next couple of days for my dogs. One day maybe I'll forget and be like, oh, I forgot to pull the food out. So, I mean, there's a little maintenance involved, but I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons. Andy, is a working German Shepherd a better breed than a Malinois for a beginner training? Not really. I mean, look, gun to the head, you had to get one. I would say German Shepherd. It's a little more of a Cadillac, and a Malinois is a little more of a Ferrari. But still, a real working dog for like a very beginner person, unless you're like a really close apprentice to like a master competitor, it's probably not like the world's greatest idea. Hey, sir, shout out. What's up? Like, the reason a working dog, like a real high caliber dog isn't a great idea for a beginner, because you're kind of like figuring out this DIY thing on the fly. Let me give an example. You have a hole in your drywall. And you go, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do this myself. I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to find drywall repair videos, and I'm going to fix this myself. I've never done it. So you go, you spend some time, you do your best, you patch up the drywall, you fix it, and it's terrible. It's terrible. It's blatantly obvious. It's all rough. The mudding's up. It's just almost worse than having a hole in the wall. Guess what? Guess what you can do? You know what you can do? You can cut, you can remove, and you can try again. You try again, you screw it up even worse. Cut, take it off, try again. You could even get to the point you just demo the whole wall and you just resheet the whole thing. anything, DIY home projects, anything is fixable. Oh man, our foundation's failing. People can fix that. Our plumbing is screwed. That can be fixed. The roof's caving in. That can be fixed. The point of the drywall analogy is with a dog, you screw it up one time, you can't cut it out and try again. Now that's there. So you want a breed that's like very forgiving, very low caliber, because you're going to make mistakes and you can't just cut it out and start again like you could on an inanimate object. When you do something with a dog, now it's in there. What we got here? Oh yeah, about almost 100 people on here. Let's go! Everyone on here, get you a shirt. How dare you? Rock your boys' gear. Shout out. I love a good shout out. Watching from the Philippines. What's up, Gilbert? Thanks for being here. How do you train personal protection? Get a dog with the right genetics and a trainer that knows what they're doing. You want how to train? You want the dog to alert on someone and potentially bite them. What's up? Love your content, man. Always enjoy your straightforward point of view. We have a 6-month-old male female and a 2.5 male husky wolf. Well, thank you and thanks for being here. Andy, and so socialization with Malinois, taking it through crowds and stuff. Oh, so socialization, like taking a Malinois around crowds like a farmer's market or Home Depot or out in public, yeah, that's definitely socializing the dog. People don't need to touch your dog and talk to them and like look at them to be socialized. You could walk in a room full of people, no one could ever acknowledge your dog. It's definitely socializing the dog. Socializing doesn't mean me touch. Socializing a dog with another dog, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna touch. Not a lot of training available in my area, so your content helps me out. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Raw is the only way. It is the best. Wintertime, I used to feed my Dutch Shepherd wild beaver, skinned of course, and yeah, very healthy as long as you just don't feed it too much. Or the coat. Heck yeah, more power to you. Hey Andy, what are the differences between a Mal and a Dutch? Striped coat. I've heard they're very similar or very much the same. Regards from Mexico. What up? Yeah, I mean, Dutch Shepherd's a Malinois with stripes, let's be honest. Andy, my retriever takes ages to chew treats and stops to chew when I feed when in heel. What do I do? So the dogs just chew, chew, chew. What you do is you get your kibble like an hour before you train, fill it up with water, like you make yourself like a little bowl of cereal with kibble and water, and let that sit for an hour, and then it's going to absorb the water and turn into like a mush. And then you can use that. Or you could just use boiled chicken. Watching from the Philippines, how do you teach to turn off the play? Well, one way teaching a dog to turn off playing is with a really good place command, or what I call climb. You get an elevated dog bed, you teach the dog how to get on there and stay for very long periods of time, hour minimum. That way every time the dog gets on the bed, they go, oh, I know what time it is. I'm going to be here for a while and it's going to be real boring. And if you train it right, they just automatically go into relax when they get on that bed. So that's one way to do it. Got all kinds of questions, Andy. I'll throw another one out. What do you think of pit bull for personal protection? They can do it. Yeah, I've seen pit bulls do personal protection. Definitely possible. All Malinois are not the same. Many different lines, which all have very different traits. Preach. When you get into the details, not all are created equal. I'm glad you brought that up, because a Malinois is not a Malinois across the board. So look, technically on paper, yes, it's a breed, but you can have a 30-pound Malinois. You can have a 90-pound Malinois. That's not fat. You can have a 90-pound Malinois. You can have a Malinois that doesn't want to bite or do bite work. You can have a Malinois who's a world champion in bite work. You can have a Malinois that's terrified of loud noises. You can have a Malinois that doesn't care about them at all. You can have a Malinois that's carefree. You can have a Malinois that's very suspicious of everything. So owning a Malinois, it's like, hey, I have a car. Oh, you have a car too? Heck yeah, we both got cars. Boom, what's up? We're the same. Meanwhile, you got a McLaren and I got a Ford Escort. It's like, hey man, we both got cars. Woo, let's go. Well, they're both cars. You know, a Malinois is a Malinois, but such a massive difference across. That's why I hate generalizing about dogs. Well, Malinois are this, that, and the other. I hate. You know what I found, guys, and maybe this is a good way to end. You know what I found? Like very smart people, very dedicated people that I've worked with as clients, they do years of research before getting a dog online. It doesn't do any good. I'm not saying to not do research, but it doesn't do them any good, because you go and you research a breed like the Malinois and they go, smart, energetic, loyal, protect. What? This breed needs a lot of exercise. What? The information that you're going to find, generally speaking, is gobbledygook nonsense. That's why I'm online shouting, trying to get a different opinion out there, because I've been lucky enough to surround myself with a lot of trainers and decoys that are a lot better than me. Mostly in Europe, but they're better than me. So I know what a top level looks like. I know what it feels like to be around that. And so just going online and saying Malinois are smart. The greatest dog trainers I've ever known, you know what they've never done? They've never described a dog as being smart. Never once. It's not something that dog trainers do. It's a pet owner thing to do. I'm not trying to tease you if you do that. I'm really not trying to tease you. But that's totally like a civilian move to go, oh, he's really smart. Like, oh, I heard they're trainable because they're smart. Like, dude, smart doesn't mean anything to me. Like, of course, every dog's smart. I mean, come on. Smart, guess what? Serial killers are smart too. Just because just goes, oh, it's smart. Like, that doesn't mean, okay. And then this is, oh my God, this is the worst one. You don't get this really with a Malinois breeder, at least a credible one. But, you know, my mom, she likes doodles. God bless her. Fluffy little dogs. She, you know, last year was looking at breeders to buy a doodle. And she's showing me some of these breeders, and I'm just dying inside. The one breeder, here's what the breeder says, right? The breeder, this is what they said. And they're talking about the parents of the litter. They're the friendliest dogs we've ever seen. If a breeder describes what they're breeding as being friendly, next. These are some of the friendliest dogs. And every pet owner goes, oh yeah, we like friendly. Do you really think a doodle breeder is going to be like, they're wildly aggressive? Friendly means nothing. You know who else can be friendly? Serial killers. Just because a dog is friendly and smart, and that doesn't mean anything to me. And that's not describing actual genetic traits. That's anecdotal. Hey, will neutering my dog calm him down? You go to the vet goes, oh yeah, neutering will calm your dog down. Wow, really? That's fascinating. Can I see the research, please? No, really, I want to see the research because that's quite a claim, isn't it? That's a hell of a claim. So can I see a bar graph? Can I see a pie chart? Can I see some empirical evidence? Any data? Crickets. Tell me, Mr. Vet, how does one measure calming down? I'll tell you what neutering calming down is. It's anecdotal at best. Well, my dog really calmed down after he got neutered. That's just a biased opinion. That's not facts. That's not, so you could say, oh, this isn't true, but if you neuter a dog, they don't jump as high. So no, look, we set up one controlled situation. We had a dog jump, they achieved this height, and then we neutered them, exact same situation, exact same set, they couldn't get over. And we did that a million times over with 1,000 different breeds and 1,000 different ages. So, neutering, they don't jump as high. So that's just a random example. It, of course, isn't true, but like you can measure that. You can calming a dog down from neutering it. What is that? Who says that? It's vet's fault. And if anyone out there is watching this and is like, oh, Andy's making fun of me right now. Andy, you're a jerk. I'm making fun of the person that told you that because you rely on a professional to give you credible information. It's going to calm the dog. Who's evaluating that? Who's the evaluator there? You know what I mean, guys? I don't know how I got on that tangent, but think about it. Should have jumped off when I had the chance. Now there's a million questions. Just kidding. Okay. Scrolling. Do you use a dog trotter, Andy? Pros and cons. So like a little dog treadmill situation. I don't personally use them just because I have 7 flat, wide open, fenced acres at my disposal 24/7. So I don't use them. Excuse me, but I'm definitely not against people that use them. Pros and cons. Pros, you get your dog some good physical output. Cons, it's easy to overdo it with that because they have to keep running even if they don't want to. I like to have them free, so if they want to stop, they can. You're the man and you're the man. Thanks, John. Exactly. Research Malinois is trash once you own one. Total trash. They're loyal. Like it's just nonsense talk. Before I got my Dutch Shepherd, I looked in the same thing, and basically they told me it was if you don't know what you're doing, it was like owning a loaded gun. I agree with that. Brain injury, seizures with 107 temp Dutchie. Thinking of just letting him be a dog, slow with the learning, lots of commands, lost all commands, still great quality of life and has fun. What should I at least get on him? Like you said, let the dog be a dog, let him go outside regularly, take him for a little walk, just chill, let him be cool. I'll be getting a Belgian Malinois 4 years old. Before I get him, I'm engaging with him every week to get close to him. Things going great, and seems like he's submitting to me. I'm able to bring him for a walk without him pulling. My worry is only how can I stop him from barking at a stranger when I bring him home? My neighbor will complain about the barking. Well, Daniel, I'm a build guy, not a stop guy. So if the dog, it sounds like the dog's reactive. So go back to the beginning of this chat, and I answered a very similar question. You need to establish your training outside of that situation and then apply it. Don't worry about stopping a dog from doing something, though. Just think about how you can build. Can you talk a little bit about training the stomach flip? What do you mean, Julie? Like what? Oh, yeah. I think I know what you mean. I think I know what Julie means. So I'm really careful about something called bloat. It's when a dog takes in too much water, too much food at one time. Their stomach swells up so big that it flips over, and unfortunately the dog passes away when that happens. So I think Julie's asking about, like, if you're really exercising the dog and training with food, like, don't you have to be careful? If I'm training with food and the dog's eating, they're not giving a ton of like physical exertion. It's more here. If your dog's really, really out of breath, you should not let them have a lot of water, even a little. Don't let them have water for like a half hour. They will be fine, I promise you. But training with food, being careful about bloat, yeah, you got to be careful. If you're feeding your dog and you're giving them water and they're exercising a lot at that same time, you got to be really careful there. Watched a group of people walking into Petco for training. God bless them. You know, Jordan, here's the thing. Are you going to get world-class dog training at Petco? You sure aren't. But, Jordan, let me throw this at you. I would argue that the average civilian taking your dog to Petco for training is probably better than doing zero training. Because I've come across this a lot, Jordan, in my career, and I used to totally just crap all over PetSmart and their trainers and laugh at them and whatnot. And yeah, look, you're not going to find world-class dog training there, but I've found the discipline that it requires out of a client is a good start. So for example, someone goes to me, oh, Andy, I want to train my dog. I got all these problems, but yeah, PetSmart, now they can't help me out there. Show up every class, do everything they say to a T, follow their whole program exactly, and then tell me, because yeah, to you and me, Jordan, we may go, losers, but to that person, it might be good training to them. And it may just give them the discipline. Well, no, I stopped going to the classes because it wasn't really helping. No, you got to keep showing up. You have to keep going. You have to follow the trainer's advice blindly until the end. And then you can establish if they're no good. Problem with PetSmart and Petco training, the problem is they can only use 1/2 of operant conditioning, because with the corporate policy, you cannot use negative reinforcement. You cannot use positive punishment. So that leaves you with the only 2 quadrants left. And here's the thing about an all-positive trainer. If you're training 100 people to train their dogs all positive, it's going to be really tough for those people to like totally mess their dogs up using food and praise only. Of course, it's not complete dog training. You won't get the highest results with that, but it's hard to really mess that up. If you train with negative reinforcement and use prong collars and train 100 people, now a lot of things can get messed up. How are you going to mess a dog up positive? You feed them with your hand wrong? I mean, what's the harm in that? Prong collar, e-collar, negative reinforcement, positive punishment? Oh, the margin for error is massive on that. So the all-positive trainer and the PetSmart trainer, maybe get mad at me, but it's very safe. Sure, you won't get results like me, but you can do something. This is sit. No, good sit. This is down. Okay, good down. All right, now practice that at home. I mean, you get something. Do you give a monthly flea and tick? What health checks do you do on your dogs? I just did blood work. Typically every 18 months on that. Yeah, that's a pretty good regimen. You know, my lady takes care of that stuff a little bit more, so, you know, I kind of rely on her for that. Hey, Andy, my lady keeps barking at strangers and goes into a fierce state if they approach us. In such moments, she doesn't listen nor believe in me to protect, guide her through it. Tips are appreciated. I guess depends how old the dog is too. 3-4 times a week, I'd have that dog around people for a meaningful period of time that ignored the dog. Do not look at the dog. Don't address the dog. You need to have that dog around people regularly that don't acknowledge the dog in any way. They don't look at her. They pretend like a dog isn't there. Those are the kind of people you need. Anyway, I follow your way of heel training on YouTube. Fantastic, and he's a quick learner. Awesome, glad to hear that. I seen the trainer jacking the dog up by the harness, so maybe not all positive. Ah, the truth comes out at Petco, doesn't it? Doesn't it? You know what happens, Jordan, and everyone else? You know what happens with all positive training? You're limited on the tools that you can develop and use. You are limited, and I'm speaking factually because I'm referring to the 4 quadrants of operant conditioning. Science! If you don't know those 4 quadrants, how dare you? But you're limited to 25, maybe 50% of what makes up operant conditioning, aka how a dog learns. So what I've found with like an all positive trainer or PetSmart or Petco or whoever, you're limited with the tools you can use, and a lot of times it causes frustration. A lot of times with the trainer, it causes them to be a little frustrated because they're not using the whole of what makes the dog tick, that they're not using all of it. So they're limited and they get a little frustrated with the dog. Whether they believe that, oh, it's not working, or oh, he's still doing that. I repeated it all week at home like you told me, is he's still the exact same. Oh, yeah, well, you got to try. They get frustrated with the owners. Oh, it's the owner's fault. They're not doing what I tell them. It's the owner's fault. It's the dog's fault. He's really stubborn, or he's a puppy, and they're blaming, and they're a little frustrated. I know I'm generalizing, but thank you, Andy. I always thought behavior was trained, not by surgery. You're welcome. You're so right. It's a real current trend to say breeds don't matter, and it harms the dogs. Malinois and other high drive breeds could fit with a beginner, but it's too risky. A lot of risk there. Hi, do you think negative reinforcement can lead to aggression in a Mal? If you don't do it right, for sure. A lot of things can lead to aggression in a Malinois if you don't do it right. But negative reinforcement is not to be screwed around with. It's not to be DIY'd on the fly. It's not to check out one YouTube video and then get in there with your dog. How many videos do I have on YouTube? Hundreds at this point. How many videos do you see me where I'm putting pressure on dogs and correcting dogs? None. None. And there's a reason for it, because negative reinforcement and positive punishment isn't something to be DIY'd. It isn't something to be played with, because all it takes is one time of doing it wrong and then you're screwed. It's not like the drywall example where you patch it, you screw it up, so then you pull it off and you repatch it. Can't do that with a dog in a prong collar. put a prong collar on, misuse it. You can't just take it off, put it back on, and start fresh like you can with an inanimate object. Oh, we got this piece of furniture from IKEA. Let's assemble it. Oh, we assembled it totally wrong. Well, let's take it all apart and try again. It's an inanimate object. With a dog, you apply negative reinforcement badly one time, that could stick in the dog's mind forever. Hey, Andy, you're awesome. You're awesome. How often and how long does a stay training should last to perfect it? How long is a stay? I don't get the question, really. If you're teaching a dog to stay, like my basketball analogy, the dog can never be too good at stay. A basketball player never stops practicing free throws. A dog trainer never stops practicing stays with their dog. After a couple weeks, your dog should have a pretty good concept of what it is, but maintaining it and furthering it, it's a lifelong thing. Did you let your dog walk without a leash outside with other dogs or people? Sometimes, yeah. I worked at a shelter where literally a third of the dogs were Malinois. Disgusting. Most of them full of behavior problems. A lot were dangerous to consider. Yeah, it's horrific. I actually just got a voicemail a few days ago, and it was someone saying, hey, we got a Malinois. We weren't ready for it. It bit a kid, and now we need to get rid of it. Any suggestions? Terrible. Terrible, 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 terrible. Thank you. Wonderful to hear from a professional like yourself. Thank you, Emily. This might be the last one here. I got to go train. Hey, Andy, my 6-month-old Mal knows how to drop and out the ball when she knows or sees there's a second ball. How do I get her to out the one ball without trying to grab the item the same time as me? I think I get your question. So when you're talking about training switch, if you haven't watched my switch video on YouTube, check that out. You need to get the dog to predict another toy will be procured. So you need to accomplish outing the dog off the one toy without them ever seeing the second toy. Introduce other languages like heel and OPA. Anytime, that doesn't. But the ball thing, that's it. Don't worry about the heel and OPA. The ball thing, if you have to show the dog a second toy to get them to drop the first toy, you're not ready. You're not ready yet. You need to get the dog to predict out, and then another ball comes out. So when you say out, they spit it, and they're looking for your hand to go get the second toy. Then you can start rewarding with the same toy. Y'all, I'm out of here. I'm going to go train, buy my merch, figure it out. Links in the description. Probably not to this video, but my other videos that I do. He Bites, patreon.com/Andy Kruger. We will see y'all next week. Happy training. Malinois were over exercised. Work 'em.